Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
225 public representatives are elected to this place right here, known as Parliament, to represent the people themselves in the decision-making process of this country. But, Chatwanga, yesterday in Parliament, something far different happened from passing legislation took place inside Parliament.
You're correct, Sulfik. I had the unfortunate opportunity of reporting what had happened in Parliament to our viewers yesterday, and as we received the information was completely absurd. To say that these members who are creating and making the rules of this country are acting in this manner was absolutely horrendous, Sulfik.
Yesterday in our news bulletin, we brought to you certain words that were mentioned inside Parliament. For instance, the word thief was repeatedly mentioned over and over again in the well of the Parliament. Now, Minister Susil Premajantha, a senior member of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, speaking to reporters today, explained how that situation, which unfolded yesterday, could have been avoided. According to the Act, as the person who appointed the Commission, the President has the authority to take decisions. But when delivering the summary of that report, the President said he would table it in Parliament. In the meantime, the Attorney General's advice was that it may take a few days for this, because they wanted to secure evidence pertaining to certain recommendations. There are written evidence for some of them, which could be in either the central bank or elsewhere. So if this report is made public before these material are safely secured, it could be easily accessible to the respondents of these charges. During the hearing process of this commission, certain people received threats. So the Attorney General's advice was that another week is required. On the basis, the evidence has to be saved and ensure all safety precautions before making this a public document. Thereby, the Presidential Secretariat has informed this report would be presented to Parliament on the 17th of this month. I personally believe this should have happened before a date was decided on. All of those who requested for this document could have convened a meeting with the Speaker and held a party leaders meeting like they usually do. They could have cleared all doubts and agreed on when this could be tabled in Parliament. So if it has been decided on when it could be tabled in Parliament and when it would be debated, yesterday's issue would never have cropped up. You cannot accuse the Sri Lanka Freedom Party for this, because there were just 3 of its members when this happened. None of the SLFP members were called a thief, neither did they call anyone else a thief. At the time, we were all taking part in religious observances at the Jayashri Mahabodhya. Yesterday's incident would have never happened if they had some patience. The other thing is, there is no need to make a statement at a time when a report is being tabled. There simply is a debate after the report is tabled. A statement could have been there if needed. This was what led to an unnecessary altercation, resulting in some of the MPs getting hurt. I saw some of them in plasters as well. The idea is to make laws, not to fight. It is those who do not know how to formulate laws who get into these fights. What else can they do? If they waited for 10 whole months, why can't they be patient for 1 more week until the report is brought here? What the Speaker should have done if he hadn't received the report as yet was to make an announcement, adjourn Parliament and call for a party leaders meeting.
What about the Prime Minister's special statement?
Whether or not to authorize a special statement is completely up to the Speaker. There is nothing that we can say about that. So we should know when to and when not to make a special statement.
Minister Premajantha also responded to talks on the central bank suspending Perpetual Treasuries Limited functioning as a primary dealer.
A thief will steal a sum of 100,000 rupees, and that 100,000 is later found. Turns out the thief has made another deposit of 150,000 rupees. So could you say he could have the remaining 50,000 and close the case? What they are trying to do is take this through a civil procedure and cover this up. This will not eliminate the criminal offence, it will remain the same. This is a crime which should be punished under the penal code. There is a section under the penal code which says a person could be punished for lying, and there is speculation that false evidence is given. For instance, if you lie before a magistrate court, you cannot return home. You are put back in your cell for a long time and given a charge sheet. This has not happened here. Now, Chatwanga, when all that heated exchange was taking place in Parliament, the President was in Anuradhapura attending a meeting of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Now, at that meeting yesterday, the President made a strong point on the certain word called thief or rogues.
Yes, Zulfik, now we heard a senior politician, a government minister speaking about what happened, what transpired inside Parliament yesterday. He also said that if people do not know to make the laws, that is why they go and fight. The President also had an interesting statement to make yesterday. If you missed it, we have that coming up for you. The President spoke about a tactic used by pickpocketers in the country. And then the President today spoke about the same topic in the Madirigiri area as well. Let's have a listen.
මං කෑ ගහනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ කෑ ගහන්න කවුද හොරා කවුද හොරා කවුද හොරා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ දෙපැත්තේම අය හොරා කියාගෙන
Both sides in parliament are calling each other rogues. Unable to figure out who the thief is, a major altercation broke out today. You know, there were far more pickpocketers in Colombo Fort back then than there is now. These pickpocketers snatch the money out of the pockets of the innocent people while they are walking along the pavement. While the pickpocketer is running away, the owner of the wallet runs after the thief yelling that he has been pickpocketed. While all of this is happening, bystanders just look on as the pickpocketer is being pursued by the owner of the wallet. The pickpocketers then start shouting at the thief who is running away. This is exactly what is happening to politics in the country. However, the people clearly know who the thief is and who is not a thief.
පැහැදිලිවම දන්නවා කියන එක තමුන්නාන්සලාගේ හෘද සාක්ෂිය තුල මම දන්නවා ඒ ගැන. අද වංචාව දූෂණය
I am not biased towards any political party. I must make it clear all necessary decisions will be taken against the thieves, fraudsters and those who destroy state resources regardless of their positions. I will create the necessary background to hand on punishments to all of them.
ඊටාම් පැහැදිලිව තමුන්නාන්සලාට කියන්නට ඕනේ.
Zulfik, that was the statement made by the President yesterday with regard to the incident that transpired in Parliament, and the statement made by the President today in Madirigiri. Now, just before we heard the President, we saw how the Prime Minister of our country was acting inside Parliament. We also have another revelation to say the Prime Minister's actions. Have you heard of a situation where a certain member of Parliament threatens maybe the Speaker of the Parliament?
Chaturanga, I have never come across any such situation.
Let's have a look at this visual that we have for you and see what is happening here.
මේ කොමිෂමේ වාර්තාව මේක කතා අවස්ථාව දුන්නනේ කොමිෂමේ වාර්තාව සභාවට my mic on man okay otherwise I'm going to take you out of there කතානායකතුමනි මේ කොමිෂමේ වාර්තාව මේක කතා අවස්ථාව දුන්නනේ කොමිෂමේ වාර්තාව සභාවට my mic on man okay otherwise I'm going to take you out of there.
Now, who is the Prime Minister trying to put out? Who is the Prime Minister threatening here? Please bear in mind, it is the Honourable Speaker of Parliament who has the right to award any MP in Parliament an opportunity to make his opinion or to make a statement in Parliament. So, even in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, Chaturanga, it is clearly mentioned how the General Secretary of Parliament is being appointed.
Now, when we usually look at a normal parliamentary session, we hear the speaker saying this is the honourable member who is going to speak, and we also see the mic operator switching that particular mic on for that member to speak. So, Zulfik, you spoke about the constitution. Is there any provision in the constitution of our country for the Prime Minister to point the finger at the Speaker of Parliament and to say, I am going to put you out?
I do not think so, Chaturanga. I do not think that has ever happened even in the UK Parliament, which is like the benchmark for all parliamentary sessions in the entire world.
The Prime Minister of our country also has been speaking about this Westminster system, and they are going to move into this Westminster system. But when things like this happen, is this a good example that we are setting?
I do not think so, Chaturanga. And also, please bear in mind, one cannot simply make a statement that he is going to put someone out. We can also mention that this is not something like a working committee. Please bear in mind, we are not targeting any individual political party in our presentation right now. What we are trying to say is, the party in question had great men like D.S. Senanayake, Dudley Senanayake and so on. But what we are trying to point out is the questionable conduct of the individual person and not the political party. Now, yesterday we brought you certain footage of the entire heated exchange that took place in the well of Parliament. Now, our viewers, based in so many locations, are sending us more footage that is being circulated on messaging platforms and social media platforms.
We received a set of footages from Japan as well, Zulfik. That was very interesting to see that a person who is outside the country sending us visuals of our Parliament, what is happening in our Parliament, because people speaking to us over the telephone, over the phone, speaking to us over various platforms have been telling us continuously that yesterday's incident that transpired inside the parliament, the legislature of our country, is absolutely shameful, and this is not a good thing and not a good precedent to the youngsters, the young politicians who are coming up. We got this set of footages from a viewer in Japan. Let's have a look. Now, Zulfik, since these images, these visuals have been captured from various angles, you see a complete picture of what is happening. If you watch closely, you see certain key figures from people who are very famous in the political arena looking at what is going on with their hands tied in the back. And you also see another member of parliament coming and giving maybe a pat on the back and just saying hi or just saying bye or something of that sort. But the question here is, Zulfik, now when you take a look at this and when you observe what is happening, this seems like it is happening according to a certain script, as per the ideas, the whims and fancies of someone who has written down to say this is what needs to happen on this particular day in Parliament.
Chaturanga, when you say that, one thing comes to my mind. That is, you might remember how a road was closed when renovations... Opposite Sirikota, that road was closed for renovation spontaneously.
Yes.
Without any announcement being made. And also you might recall how certain individuals from top positions moved from place to place in what we would term as asking for help.
I think you're talking about a certain key individual going to the temple trees on the day of the election, and that person then going to Madamulun in a helicopter, then hanging on to a window and speaking to the public. Our general public, the viewers, know what we are trying to say.
They know what we're talking about. Now, Minister Susil Premajayantha, I'm sorry to...
No, you go ahead, sir.
Minister Susil Premajayantha said only 3 members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party were in Parliament yesterday. Everyone else was in Anuradhapura accompanying the President and attending their party promotional campaigns.
We did not see any JVP members also.
Indeed, we did not see anyone from the JVP in the well of Parliament when this incident was happening. Now, the leader of the JVP, Anura Kumara Disanayaka, had a perfect explanation as to how last afternoon's incident transpired.
They gave it some thought. If these reports come and if they speak about the bond during the election, it will be advantage to Mahinda. If they speak about the bond transactions of the past, it is advantages to Ranil. If they speak about avant-garde, it will be advantages to Ranil. If they speak about any of this, it is advantageous to the JVP. Both these groups discussed and said, let's do something absurd. When you start hooting, we will start hooting as well. When you scream rogue, we will also scream rogue. When you hit, we will also start hitting. This was orchestrated.
So, Zulfiq, now as we mentioned these things that are happening in Parliament, obviously when the apex political body in our country, the members of it are acting in this manner, obviously the provincial council, local government level is going to take a look at this and take that example and to think that this is the right way to proceed and do things. Now we also know that millions of money is spent on each parliamentary session, each session of all these institutions with power. Now we hear of a similar situation in the Uva Provincial Council as well.
Indeed, Chaturanga, in less than 24 hours, the incident that took place in Parliament was set as an example in the Uva Provincial Council.
Let's have a look at what happened.
During today's session of the Provincial Council, UMP Uva Provincial Councillor M. Sajitrananda questioned the Chief Minister, highlighting media reports on the alleged incident.
The individual who was on screen a moment ago was not just a local politician from a Pradesh Sabha. That was the Chief Minister of the Uva Provincial Council, storming out of the chamber saying all sorts of things. Now this is yet another example of public funds going to complete waste. An entire day's session gone to waste, and it is the public's money that is going to waste. Now the matter surrounding the Treasury bond issuance has reached a very critical point. And at this very moment, nurses attached to the Sri Jayawardhanapura Hospital have commenced a protest or a trade union action against the installation of a fingerprint attendance recording system. Now this trade union movement is being led by a monk who is attached to the Abhayarama temple and who is often met by the former president as well. Now all these incidents are happening, and for what use? The final decision of any matter lies with the general public. So the people of the country, it is you who make the final call. It is you who make the final decision when it comes to policy making matters and also any other decision making process. The final decision always lies with the people.